YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. And we got another trade involving a quarterback. Matt Ryan goes from the Falcons to the Colts for a third-round pick. Yeah, a little surprising how this just happened all so fast in one day here. We did talk about on Twitter this morning that I was talking about I could see him either back with the Falcons or with the Colts, and that ended up happening here. So we'll break it down. We'll grade it. We graded all the other quarterback trades on the channel along with Devontae Adams' trade. Graded those, and then we have a Khalil Mack, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper on our Twitter with kind of just thoughts. I'll put a link in the comment section of this video that'll bring you directly to all those if you're interested there. But yeah, excited to break this down. Follow our Twitter, a lot going on there, a lot of news, rumors, thoughts, and more. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We've been doing a bunch of free agency signing grades as well. Draft, got an update on our mock draft because of this deal here. So I definitely think it changes stuff. More quarterbacks at the top. You start with the Falcons possibly, or before that. Teams trying to trade ahead of the Falcons, but that's not this video. Here's our Twitter. It's a lot of updates here. Check it out. Link down below for that. But the trade, pretty simple. Matt Ryan to the Colts, and then the Falcons get a third-round pick, 82nd overall. The Colts had 73 and 82. You would think that the Falcons would get that 73, but they got the 82, so the Colts hang on to the 73. So, well, I guess first off, if you look at this with the Carson Wentz trade, it looks pretty good for the Colts. If you kind of combine the two, it looks really good. That's usually it's not how I grade though. Just like when we graded the Carson Wentz, Colts trading Carson Wentz away. I didn't factor in what they gave up to get him. That's kind of separate. Like the first Carson Wentz trade was an F, basically. Ends up being, I gave him an A+ for trading Carson Wentz away from what they got. But again, combining both, that makes this one look like kind of an A in that range. But I like to separate these things, not have them related, kind of create a mess. But the Colts do technically get better at quarterback here by adding Matt Ryan, and kind of puts them back in the conversation of competing maybe for the AFC South this year, which it's been the Titans division. So can they catch them? They got a little more consistent quarterback there compared to Carson Wentz. Of course, they do. You don't spend a lot in trade value, but they spend a lot in terms of cap space. So they dropped down to about $16 million in available cap this year, with some work left to do. They need a left tackle still. Definitely need receivers. It's probably the biggest thing. And then maybe some more on defense, losing Eberflus, bringing in Gus Bradley, try to fit that. But, yeah, and they take a little bit of a hit next year as well with their caps. They're going to be in the middle of the league for both years after this deal. For the Falcons, yeah, it's just pretty surprising because they it sounded like they were going to keep Matt Ryan. They're about to restructure him. That means no trade, and they held off on that because Watson – and then they didn't get Watson, and it's like they're still trading Matt Ryan. So it's just pretty wild how were they not, they were going to be in win now mode. They kind of changed course a little bit towards Watson, so it's still win now mode. Then all of a sudden to rebuild, maybe. You don't clear a lot this year, clear a lot next year. Don't get that great of a pick. So it is interesting. But let me grade these here. Honestly, I don't love it for either team, but I don't really hate it for either team. At first glance, I thought I was going to hate it for the Falcons. First, talk about the Colts. I gave the Colts a B here. Yeah, in terms of the value, them only trading a third, that looks great. Just looking at that, Matt Ryan for a third-round pick, if you only looked at that, that's probably in that A range, right? But a lot of other things factor in, of course, like we do for every trade. Every trade does. So you have those cap hits. They really drop their cap for this year and next year. You're bringing in 23.75 this year, 28 or so next year. So that's pretty big as well. That definitely affects you on what you're trying to build around Matt Ryan. But they still have money. But will they go out and spend it? That's kind of been they have had no problem trading for guys for some reason, one or two guys here and there. But will they go out and spend? That's kind of been hesitant to do that. So do need to get better in other spots because they get better at quarterback, but are they actually better in some other spots here? Yeah, that's one thing. Another thing is it still feels like they kind of need a quarterback, not for starting in 2022, but it's not a long-term answer. It just feels like we're going to be doing the same rodeo again here with the Colts every year or two here. So That's a tough part. Something I like is it's kind of like, is he going to be like Phillip Rivers kind of? And I thought Phillip Rivers was good for them. They got to the playoffs. They even maybe outplayed the Bills in that playoff game. Is the team in general as good, though, as what Phillip Rivers had? That's kind of the question. And then kind of looking at Matt Ryan, what he did with the Falcons, not enough. Not enough. I think his offensive line's a little bit of an upgrade with the Colts, but it's not really enough he was able to do the last couple of years because he's still solid. He is declining a little bit, aging. So that's why it's this tough one because it's so good in terms of, only giving up a third for Matt Ryan, but you factor in the money, how it limits you. You still need a quarterback. He makes you better. I definitely think he makes you better at the quarterback position. Where's he going to get you to, though? Are the Titans still the best in the AFC South? Are the Jags coming? Probably not yet, but maybe. If you make the playoffs, which is very realistic with Matt Ryan, because they were a game away last year, but I guess is the team the same as last year? That's another debate. But where is he? Maybe a playoff win. So where does it get you? Was this worth it? Are they going to be going through the circle again? So I still graded it well because I think the main thing is value, third round pick, but some other things kind of do bump it down a little bit there. For the Falcons, when it initially happened, I was kind of thinking the D plus range maybe because it's just, Matt Ryan's out. They save little cap space now. They didn't get that value of pick to help to recoup a quarterback. They got worse at quarterback. So that sounds bad. But I like kind of sitting on these a little bit, thinking them a little bit. And I started to think of some positive things there for the Falcons. I still don't love it. I'm going to give it a C. So I kind of bumped it up from the D range to a C because, I really don't love the third round pick. It should be the Colts had 2 third-round picks and they get the least valuable of the 2. Don't love that. I mean, look what other quarterbacks Carson Wentz went for. I think the fact that he was on the Colts doesn't really play a part here at all. It's just look what he went for. So this is kind of what you should get, so that he was more valuable. But so that was tough, and that kind of wanted me to put it in the D range there. But the positive here is if they held on to Matt Ryan for another year, were they going to be able to trade him and get rid of that, $30 million or so, cap hit next year? Probably not, so this was kind of their only shot. And now you look at them next year with their cap space, they're actually at the top of the league. Look at 2024, they're second in the league. So it actually really helped for the future here. You didn't get the best value in your return. You now need a quarterback. You need a lot of things here. So I'd say you're going to be worse at the quarterback position, most important position in football. So those are kind of the downsides. But the positive is, and it's kind of a question, but I think it's accurate that this was kind of their only shot to clear that space for next year, right? Again, kind of a question, but I really think so. So had to kind of jump on this opportunity, and you had to jump on the opportunity before you were going to owe him $7.5 million more. So you were going to be $7.5 million less, and the Colts would have been more if the Colts would have traded for him after that. So it kind of did need to happen now as well. So there are some positives there. I don't love giving, because you move on from your quarterback and you get worse at the most important position and you're not getting much value back. That's kind of the most important part of the trade. There's like different parts, different factors of the trade, but that's kind of the most important. So that's why it kind of keeps it down. But the more and more I think about it, the more I talk about it, I do realize they kind of had to make a decision now. There's some teams that panic a little bit and they act like they have to make a decision now when you really didn't have to. You panicked, you got way under value for really no reason. There was kind of a reason for the Falcons. I still think they should have got more value, a little bit more. Because if it was going to be a third, that was fine. I think, but I think more, the better third, and then maybe a fifth or something in there. It would have felt a lot better. But the Falcons, they kind of had to make this decision, and they clear that space for next year. Which would they been stuck? Would they have been stuck next year? So the more you think about that part of it, Yeah, maybe it's better. Maybe it's even better than a C. But the thing you got to put at the top here is, are you getting correct value? That's kind of what I always look at. I don't think they really did. So that definitely kind of bumps it down a little bit there. But really, I ended up moving it up from where I kind of started. So that's the deal. It's not really, great for any team here, but I guess it's not terrible for any team. We'll see if the Colts, if it sticks with Matt Ryan, if we're doing this thing again in a year or two, which has been a theme for the Colts. We will see. I know that a lot of Colts fans have felt like, just based on Twitter and changing profile pictures, is that they were really in on Baker Mayfield. So I wonder how we feel about Matt Ryan here. So it's interesting. The whole thing this year has been interesting. The quarterback carousel has just been ridiculous. And I guess it's not over yet, too. And I think this really plays a part on the draft. It really, really does. I was starting to think the Colts were going to be in. They very well still could be in on a rookie quarterback. Swapping those second-round picks in the Carson Wentz trade was interesting. Like, you want to move up a little bit to help you in case the guy drops down, or so you can. It's a little easier to move back up in the end of the first to get that quarterback. So starting to think that. And now at the Falcons, it really feels like rebuild. Tons of cap space in the future. A lot of needs. You don't have your veteran quarterback anymore. They needed pass rush really bad. They signed like a young guy that can be part of a rebuild, Lorenzo Carter. So are they taking a quarterback 8 overall? And that kind of makes teams, because Seattle picks 9, they need a quarterback. Do they trade ahead? The Steelers might want a quarterback. The Saints they signed Winston to a 2-year deal, but they still could. Multiple other teams there. So I think this is a win for the the upcoming rookie quarterbacks. I think they're going to go earlier than they should. Really. So I can't wait to update the mock draft here. Things get interesting. I think this changed a lot with that, even though there's really there's no pick involved up there, really. It's wild. It's wild. So can't wait to update that. We got you covered here on the channel. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. We have a lot of breaking news, rumors, thoughts. Always talking with you guys there. It's the best way to get in contact with us because we're always on there. So check it out. Link pinned in the comments for all the grades, trades, and signings. If you're looking for the ones we grade on Twitter, the links are down there. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.